If you're a founder who has found yourself stuck, what I'm going to share with you here in this video is a framework to help you. You have a ton of vision, a ton of motivation. You've probably already achieved a great deal. And at some point, you've quietly begun to notice, oh, something has stopped moving for me, but you don't know what it is. And you've probably been running models that work brilliantly. You may be several years into your success. Things are feeling different now and harder than they should be, and you think, okay, life has just changed. The clarity that you had before has disappeared. Really, that is nothing to do with the strategy or what's going on out there. It's nothing to do with the fact that the world has changed. It looks like it has everything to do with the fact that, oh, life has changed and the world has changed and things are different now. It's a little closer to home. I want to share with you in this video a framework that you can use in your business to start helping you identify and break free from some of what's been holding you in the place where you've been at. I have found that it is never the strategy. It is actually what is running underneath. That shows up differently for different people, but one example I can give you with a client who had revenue that was tied up in a situation where they had been fighting it for a couple of decades. Lawyers, legal cases, you name it. It had all been going on. They had reached a situation in themselves where it just felt like it was going to be a permanent loss. We worked together. We identified what was really beneath the assumptions, what was really going on underneath from a totally different perspective by addressing what was actually the issue. She then took a different action and received full reimbursement of the money that she was owed. It can change very quickly. This was going on for decades. We shifted it all in 6 months. It's about what becomes possible when we see things that are previously invisible to us. What shifts when we see something that we didn't before. As a founder, it's rare that you need more information. It's that you need clarity. You need to be able to see underneath. You need to be able to see what you don't know that you don't see. And it sounds strange, but it's what changes everything. My name is Elizabeth Adams. I work with founders, often in established businesses, who've become a little set in their ways. You know, people who are capable, intelligent, and deeply committed, who find themselves at some point just something not stacking up, something no longer working. It could have completely slowed their revenue down, or it is a team issue. I have been practicing the principles that I teach my clients for over 15 years, because when I first came to this material myself, I was at the tail end of 4 ventures and my life wasn't where I wanted it to be. And I was asking myself, what have I missed? What have I missed? And in me coming across this material and this structure and the tools that I now teach clients and have been teaching my clients for 8 or so years, it has completely shifted the trajectory of my life. This is the type of stuff that I wish was taught for all of us in schools, but we don't get it that early. So if you're late in the game, it doesn't matter. You are where you are, and it's never too late to begin. Now, if you've gotten to the point in life where you've become afraid to dream, because as we get older, you know, when we're younger, it can be easier to dream. But as we get older and we've had kind of knocks and setbacks, that's where it can become harder for us to actually allow ourselves to dream. We don't want to risk it again. We don't want to risk it all. And when you're building a business, it can seem like there's a lot at stake. Or when you have an established business, you don't want to change anything, because what if you change it and you're wrong and then you have to pay for that cost? Risk becomes harder to take. The bigger the stake, it becomes harder to stay in the vision. Firstly, staying in the vision, making decisions, getting greater clarity, all stems from our 4 levels of consciousness. These operate when we don't even know what's operating. 4 levels of consciousness start with your subconscious mind. And that is a womb. It's a garden. It's whatever seed you plant in your subconscious mind, that doesn't get judged. It's your subconscious mind says yes to whatever you say yes to. And if you are unaware of the things you say yes to, your thought patterns, what you believe, then you're going to have chaos showing up in your outer reality. Whatever those thoughts are, whether they're personal to you or about the world around you or about other people in your world, those thoughts create a frequency, they create a vibration, and it gets reflected back to you through your results. Here's where that gets important. You may have actually taken your definition of what's possible for you from your early childhood, from the definition other people put on you that you never checked, you never actually questioned, or if you did questioned it in a way where it was like, well, they were wrong to do that to me. And so you're making yourself a victim in the equation instead of recognizing that you have power and control and will over your thoughts. You have the right to rewrite whatever definition somebody puts on you, and in that you receive freedom. Whatever we leave unchecked in our subconscious mind will keep on growing. Just like the weeds in the garden, when we don't go deal with them, when we don't dig them up, they will just keep on growing and they will take over everything. The subconscious mind receives input from different sources. It's very important to understand that there's 3 sources that where your subconscious mind gets input that it says yes to. And one of them is your self-conscious mind, which is your present moment awareness. Here I am sitting in this chair talking to a computer that one day you will watch on a video somewhere. That's present moment awareness. We spend very little time here because often we're in the future or we're in the past, or we are trapped in what I would call the unconscious mind. Now, for many of us, this is actually where we live. It's what we are most identified with. It's what we totally believe about our world. It's not even true. It's a total illusion. The unconscious mind is made up of 12 patterns. Each pattern has its own strategy, its set of beliefs, ways of moving, and core underlying emotion. An emotion sets your frequency. So it's very important to understand and get familiar with the unconscious patterns and the beliefs. Fortunately, I am giving you all of them in a free gift. In the description below, you will find a link that will take you to my website where you can download for free the entire map of your unconscious orientation, which I call your matrix of orientation. It is the 12 deep-seated root pattern matrix system that we are all subject to. It doesn't matter where you're from, what part of the world, what your background is, where you've come from. Everybody has this template, and it is part of our role. It's part of our mission, you would say, to break free from these patterns, to recognize them as the lie, as the illusion, to start to live from a completely different level of consciousness. And that is where we actually create the reality that we love. If you're wondering, okay, where did I get these 12 beliefs from? They actually come from the oldest personality profiling tool ever to have existed, called the Enneagram. So when you are trapped in the matrix of orientation, it feeds your subconscious and then you perpetuate it in your reality. You end up exhausted and overwhelmed. Basically where I was at when I discovered this. And it's knowing this and mastering it that gave me the freedom, the inner freedom, the relief, the satisfaction of a life where I no longer had to run that race inside of myself to try to get away from the constant onslaught of the unconscious mind that was giving me a constant narrative about my reality. When we are subject to that, we are living in a pinball machine, being ricocheted from not feeling good enough to not trusting the world, to being unworthy, to not belonging, to needing to control, to being powerful over others, needing to control other people, or needing to keep other people away. It's just ongoing. And all of your energy is tied up in it. So how on earth can you have a life you love when all of your energy is just tied up in all of this stuff? Yeah. The really great news is your superconsciousness. This is the 4th level of consciousness, and we all have access to this. It's just a matter of choosing to access it and knowing how to shift ourselves, because we're fluid. We don't stay in one spot. You'll notice that we shift all of the time, and it's a choice. It's a muscle that we cultivate to keep bringing ourselves back into our superconscious level of creation. To do that, we need to be asking ourselves, when things come up, is that true? Is that actually true? Because often the feeling that we're experiencing isn't true. It's a representation of what we've been holding on to, what we've been believing. When we understand the 4 levels of consciousness and we can see accurately and we can map where we orientate in the matrix of orientation. So be sure to download that and tick off all the ones that are familiar to you, because you're going to get intimate with this aspect of your consciousness so that you can actually identify it in the moment when it's happening, so that you don't just believe the lies that it's feeding you. When we can identify that, we start to create space. We start to suspend judgment. We start to ask different questions like, what's possible here? What would I actually love? We can be coming at life from a place where we don't know what we love, or we never really gave ourselves permission to know that because we trapped in that matrix. And the other thing about it is, this is the place where we begin to make big decisions. And that can be threatening. A lot of us don't want to be in a position where we're making big decisions about our life. We are afraid of what that would mean, of what would be created if we started to make big decisions. We have all sorts of unconscious fears around making choices and making decisions. Here's the thing about it though, when we're in that fear, we are still separated from our superconscious awareness, because when we are being driven by what is true for us, we feel alive. We feel alive in our body. It's not just a mental exercise of projecting into a fantasy. It's a feeling of aliveness. It's a feeling of vitality that connects us to what we actually would love, rather than what we need and think we ought to be doing. Now, the thing for many people is that we've been conditioned since childhood out of that. From childhood, told to be quiet, told to sit down, that have conditioned us out of listening to the inner signal. For a lot of adults, we've completely forgotten how to move, even in our business. And it doesn't matter how big and how well established your business is, there'll be parts where you're just holding on to the control the whole time, holding on to it because you don't know how to do it in a way that allows you to have ease in yourself, allows other people to have ease in themselves. You know, I was working with a founder recently. I came into their business, worked with their top management team. When I walked in the door that morning, the CEO said to me, listen, I don't know if I can keep this business going. You know, the revenue is not good. It looks like in a couple of months, I'm going to be closing the doors. Can you do your best here? I worked with his team. I worked with him. I called up a month later. How are they doing? 10% up in revenue. And when you unify the field, you unify from a place of superconscious awareness rather than operating everybody left to their own devices, operating out of their unconscious fears. It makes a huge difference. It shifts the entire energy, entire frequency of a business. So once you understand the pattern that's driving you behind the wheel, and you learn to switch the dial, you learn to tap into what is your superconscious rather than relying on your unconscious orientation, movement becomes easier. Things start flowing in. It works as if by magic. You're like, how did that happen? I didn't even go out of my way to make that piece of magic land. And it's true. You know, it's just that you have created a completely different frequency, a completely different energy. And when you maintain that energy, you will see greater and greater results. And part of that practice is a bit like going to the gym. You build a muscle. When you first get started, you need a personal trainer. You need somebody who can help you identify where you are slacking off or making the moves in a way that's going to cause you strain and injury rather than enabling you to continue to progress and get stronger and stronger. And so you need that trainer. That is my role for a lot of people. When they come to me, I act as that trainer. I help them train these aspects of their consciousness so that they get better and stronger over time. They are less and less reliant on their old patterning, their old frequency, and less reliant on anybody or anything outside of them in order to help them make the shifts. I just want you to know that wherever you're at, you know, as a founder, however stuck things might seem to you, whatever is showing up in the reality of your business, if you have things that are going on that you really want to delete out of your experience, it is very possible to do this in actually very short periods of time. It doesn't take years. It doesn't take years of therapy. I've had clients come to me who've been 6 years in therapy and 6 weeks with me make massive shifts and massive changes. This is the tool that for most of us we were never taught or never taught at depth. Some people are aware there's different levels of consciousness. Some people know their subconscious mind is running the show, but they don't understand that there's 12 core patterns underneath it called the matrix of orientation, hidden away in the unconscious. That's what we don't know that we don't know. Being able to see it all and unpick it all in yourself is actually going to give you so much relief and so much freedom. Right now on my website, go to the gift, download it, go through each belief, all the strategies, and the core emotion that sets up your frequency. Get familiar and be honest about where you're at. That will help you drill down on exactly what patterning you're running. And then when you're ready for more, you can give me a call. You can book into my Founders Clarity call. You can even do the Soul Signature program with me, which is very tailor-made, very one-to-one with you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for giving yourself the opportunity to receive some deep wisdom and tools that will really support you. It's just the starting point of things getting much better from what you've experienced so far.